Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Another edition of Sev Geff Live. Paul Severino, Glenn Geffner. Geff, it's always a pleasure. How you doing today, pal?
Hanging in there with each passing day. We continue to wonder when the end is in sight, and it's nowhere near. We ought to have a day off in New York today. It's a day off I'd had mapped out for a couple of months already, but here we are talking baseball instead of watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously we hope everybody's staying inside, staying safe, staying healthy as best that they can, and in addition to that, staying some sort of sane as well. Also, we just want to say a very happy birthday to some of those in the Marlins and our broadcast families. My partner, Todd Hollinsworth, turns 25 for like a 15th or 16th straight year today. Tommy Hutton celebrates a birthday, and Marlins skipper Don Mattingly. So a happy birthday all around.
Two former guests of Sev Geff Live already.
That's
Tommy
right.
Hutton was our first guest, and just most recently we had Don Mattingly on the show. So a couple of birthday boys.
And one future guest as well. I'm sure we'll get Holly on soon enough. But for today, we have a very special guest, and he joins us right now, Brandon Kintzler. Brandon, how you doing today, pal? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah, we're all trying to stay sane. What are you doing to kind of keep your wits about you these days?
I'm cleaning my house a lot. I don't know. My wife is really impressed with that. And then just trying to work out at home, and really my two kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I think they drive us nuts enough to keep you occupied. But I just try to clean a lot.
That's a familiar refrain we hear from everybody. They said we've run out of rooms to clean and run out of drawers to reorganize already. This has gone on way too long.
Yeah, I agree. I'm getting, especially watching the MJ thing last night. We need to get back. I need to play a sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't give it away. Geff and I were just talking about this. We are the only two people that haven't watched it yet. Don't let us know if he wins the championships or not. We want to find out. So, in terms of you as a reliever, like how long is it going to take you to kind of rev things back up? And we don't know what dates, but let's just throw out a date for a round number. If they say, hey, June 15th, we're going to start baseball, and May 20th, let's just say, is spring training, how long are you actually going to need to get to spring training ready, opening day ready?
That's way too long. Spring training would be long again. I think 2 weeks is all we need.
Okay.
Probably a week to kind of throw a couple bullpens, get your legs under you, and then a week of games, and let's go. I mean, we're basically ready when we got shut down. So
now I know you were saying you have a gym in your house, so you're able to work out at home. But do you have a throwing partner out there? Are you able to throw on a regular basis still?
Yeah, I got lucky. When we got shut down, there was a guy from Vegas. He was a minor league guy at Washington. He was staying with us, kind of quarantined with us. Then we kind of just came home together, and he's been quarantined with us the whole time too. So been very fortunate.
Good.
You and I shared the stage at FanFest a few weeks back, and we talked about, you, of course, being one of the off-season additions for the Marlins, and a very important one, might I add. Let's go back to kind of how this off-season worked out and why you ended up in Miami with the Marlins.
Yeah, so Miami I liked Michael Hill was saying some good things, and I was a fan of the team. I was a fan of their talent, and I was always they just needed a little mental switch or a mental boost, And then I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing in 2016 with the Twins. We got killed. We would lose 106 games, but man, we were so talented, and we just started to figure out ways to win games towards the end of that season. It was like we just flipped this mental switch of we know how to win games, and we're not going to panic when we start losing. Then who knows what happens? And then we saw that team made the playoffs the next year, and I feel like this team is very capable of that. They got the starting pitching. We got a lot of talent. I think if we just stay together and stay mentally tough and just flip that switch, and we could do a lot of good things. And Michael Hill they wanted someone that could bring that message, a little salt, I guess. And I mean, I'm all about that. So I enjoy the challenge.
You had an impression of this ball club having pitched against it the last couple of years, especially during your time in Washington and Chicago. How did that impression change or evolve being in a clubhouse with these guys and being on a field with these guys for the month of spring training you guys were all together?
It's definitely different when you play against guys. I mean, I always try to hate every opponent I ever play against. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I hate you. And then all of a sudden you're sharing the clubhouse and like, man, these guys are really good guys. I feel bad for not liking them. They're a young, good group, very good young, and I faced a lot of them, and they had good things to say to me. So it always makes me feel good when I walk into a clubhouse that no one in the clubhouse owns me as a hitter. So, but we've had a lot of group texts throughout this whole thing. I've enjoyed my time with these guys.
you probably know these numbers by heart, but your career numbers against the Marlins are insane. And I think you're 21 straight innings without allowing a run against the Marlins. But over the course of your entire career, no matter what uniform you're wearing, going back to Milwaukee, you had had a lot of success against this team with a lot of different faces in that lineup over the years.
Yeah, I always enjoyed facing Stanton. I think we've had some good time. Ever since Double-A, I've always had some good numbers against that guy. And I even faced him in the freaking All-Star game. So it's like I couldn't get away from the guy. But I mean, I've always I don't know, I feel confident when I face these guys. I mean, they're always been a young team. I've always been in a pitcher that attacks a strike zone. So I feel like I'm just going to make them get themselves out.
We talked earlier, and you kind of alluded to it, having seen these guys up close and personal. You talked about it a few weeks back about that. There was a series, Cubs and Marlins, back in May at Wrigley Field. And, the Cubs are in one spot. You're with them. And obviously the Marlins were in another spot, kind of grinding out day by day. The Cubs have their hopes and dreams on October all the time now. But when you're in the midst of a season and game plans, are you able to kind of take a look back and almost evaluate the other team? And do you read up on the other team in terms of where they're at as an organization?
Yeah, for sure. I always like to go back and read both sides of the game cap, what their internet, what your guys' website saying, what's ours saying, just to get quotes of, where they're at mentally, how they feel about that game. We easily could have gotten swept that series, although we won 2 out of 3. But I mean, we had 2 walk-off home runs against you guys, and it easily could have went the other way. So I always just try to see, like, what did they think of those walk-offs? Were they upset about it? We're like, oh, it's okay, we'll get them next game. I like to see that stuff. And I mean, you guys had arms like no other. And then I remember Sandy had a great start. Caleb had a great start. I mean, it was some fun games. It was really cold. I remember that.
Yes.
Those guys stayed mentally tough, and they were grinding. The bats were grinding against us. It was fun.
You talk about your approach as a pitcher. For people who don't know your story, a lot of Marlins fans probably know you're coming in here to close this year. You've been in the big leagues for 10 years. That's the easy part of your journey. But you were a 40th round draft pick, a guy who 2 years in your minor league career needed shoulder surgery. You were released by the Padres. 2.5 independent league seasons. The fact that you're sitting here now going into your 11th big league season as a major league closer now says a lot about your perseverance and the journey that you've taken. Your perspective at this point in your career with everything that you've overcome to get here, and now all of a sudden you walk into this clubhouse as a leader and as guys going to be counted on to get some big outs in the 9th inning.
Yeah, so my perspective on it is I don't take anything for granted, especially when I was closing. I knew I'd probably never get a chance to close again. I just know, I mean, Paul Molitor was just, nice enough manager to, here, we'll give you a shot, and I just ran with it. I always try to run with every opportunity possible. Obviously, because of the road I've come through, I know that I'm not going to get many opportunities. Independent ball taught me that. 3 surgeries have taught me that, because, they can get taken away from you anytime like this. Baseball's taken away from us, so now that I think it's good for me mentally a little bit to really appreciate baseball again. Sometimes as you're getting older and you're going through spring training, you're like, man, this sucks. But, I mean, I think I would shag any day at this point. I would love to shag. But then coming into this clubhouse as a chance to be a closer, I think, like I said, those early wins in April can be huge for a young team like this. They give you a lot of confidence, and that's what we did in Minnesota. We were hot in April, and then next we were just we were holding on to that lead for a while. And I've had that experience coming with a young team. I've been the young guy where an older closer came in, and he set a great example for us. I had K-Rod. Trevor Hoffman was obviously when I first got called up. I've learned a lot from those guys. And we weren't great teams, but we turned into some really good teams just because of the leadership, and those guys were nails every time we had a chance to win at the end of the game. I think K-Rod went 6 days in a row one time, and I was like, man, this guy is unbelievable. And those wins are so important. That's how young teams, that's how they start turning that table, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
To see you kind of interact with Michael Hill and some of the other players, the other pitchers specifically, obviously, in Jupiter was interesting to see. And I piggyback kind of off of what Glenn was talking about. You've been around now for a decade or more in the major leagues, but now you've kind of assumed a leadership type role. maybe a secondary bullpen coach kind of thing. We were talking with Michael Hill in Jupiter. You popped over. He said, hang on, guys, and he's talking to you, and you were kind of going chapter and verse on a few different pitchers. What have you seen from those guys, and how excited are you to have that leadership role, and also a role that you figure will probably be at the end of the game, a very important one on the field as well?
I've seen, I like the Sterling Sharp kid a lot. The kid doesn't panic. He's not intimidated by anything. And he's very open-minded to learning, and he wants to learn because I think he's starting to realize what he is. He's a really good sinker baller, but he didn't really have a clue what he was doing with it. He was just throwing it over the plate. So he became my catch partner after I unfortunately broke another teammate's toe playing catch with a sinker. So I felt bad for that. So we needed to get Sharp some shin guards just in case.
Will that player remain nameless, by the way?
Yeah, okay. I'm sure everyone can figure it out. And then just watching these young guys' talent, those Cabrera kid was unbelievable. And then what was he throwing? 95-mile-an-hour changeup. It looked like a turbo sinker.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, I watched his at bat against Soto one day. He just absolutely dominated him. But these kids got swagger, and I think that's what you need when you come up. They can't be intimidated. You got to come up fully confident, and that's what I saw from these kids. They're really good athletes. I mean, there's not many. They wouldn't be pitchers only, I guess, if that's what we had to do, if we had to play high school baseball again. And I think when you have a really good athlete and a little bit of confidence, you can go a long ways. And that's what they told me when they were signing me. Wait till you see the athletes we have. And then I was like, I'm a pretty good athlete. I think I'll be all right. But I'm definitely a little behind these guys.
In relating to some of these guys, a lot of them are all over the Baseball America top prospects list. As a guy who came in as a 40th round pick who's had to earn it every step of the way, does that make it easier at this stage in your career, or is it hard to relate to some of these mega prospect types?
It's a little hard to relate just because they got here so fast. But I think for me, I'm there to let them humble them and realize that it ain't that easy. Like you will get humbled at some point, and then I just always try to make them realize that it really is hard to be here. So enjoy every day that you have. Don't take it for granted. Try to show up early. Respect the process that you are here early. You are here at a young age, and you're getting this opportunity. Because a lot of times, if let's just say you're in a different organization, you're probably not in this situation right now. So take advantage of this opportunity you have. Try to learn. Don't act like you know everything just because you're here so early. Just keep your mouth shut and just watch. There are a few veterans in that clubhouse that have been around a while. Just try to pay attention and learn, and don't be disrespectful.
Yeah, and I think that we've said it, Glenn and I, on our radio and TV broadcasts. I'm sure I've said it a lot the last few years. Wherever this organization ends up this year, next year, the year after, and hopefully for a long time after that, it's going to have the veteran fingerprints on it, whether it's guys like Curtis Granderson, certainly you. And listen, you're more than just a leader. You've got a job to do whenever this 2020 season starts. But wherever this season goes and this team and this organization goes, you guys are going to be responsible for that. And it sounds like obviously you've embraced that. You've also just talked about, the game can get taken away from you. I want to go back to indie ball. I did one summer in 2005 as a internet, not even radio, but internet broadcaster in the Can-Am League. I know a little bit about independent baseball.
Right.
In between the lines, it's baseball. Outside the lines, it's completely different. What do you remember of that whole independent league lifestyle and everything else?
Oh, man, I remember I try to take home every possible food I can, trying to save money. I do remember I got a phone call when I was coming back from shoulder surgery, and then it was a Winnipeg coach, and I was like, I don't even know where Winnipeg is, but I'll go. Like, I have no idea where I'm going. And so I remember getting off the plane, whatever, and it was freezing cold in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And then just the lifestyle. I mean, you thought that indie ball would be easy. You really did. And you realize there's no scouts at the time. Like, I was a rookie of the year that first year, and I just thought I'd be out here in a heartbeat. I'm 22 years old. Nope. It's not that easy. And then the lifestyle is just such a grind. The bus rides, especially in that league, we had 16, 18-hour bus rides overnight. You get 3 hours of sleep and you got to go play. There's rarely ever a day off. And then you're just grinding. I mean, these guys think they're grinding in AA and or AAA or wherever, even A-ball. It's not even close. Like, you're living off pennies. Like, I think I was paying to play to live in Canada. My phone bill was so expensive. I think just the text back home or call back home, and I was making, I think I was clearing maybe $200, maybe, but I had to pay for the hotel I was living in. Oh. So that was, oh man, those are great days. I would do it all over again.
It's funny you say that, because I remember talking to Kevin Millar years ago when he first came to the Red Sox after he played for the Marlins. He was a St. Paul Saint, and he said, look, I understand the big leagues are the big leagues and the paycheck is what it is, but if everything were equal, I would have never left the St. Paul Saints. Those were the best times of my life.
Yeah, I had a blast. I definitely had a blast. You get to know all your teammates. You're friends with all your teammates just because you are so close to each other. And like bus rides, like even all those bus rides, you're gonna talk to everybody at some point, and everyone's there for one reason. It's because either holding on to a dream, or you still have the dream and you're trying to restart it. I had guys with 3 years of big league experience on those bus rides. I had me who had a half a year of rookie ball or something. I mean, there was just guys from all different eras, and it humbles you real fast. Your egos better be out the door because you're an indie ball, dude. Sorry, like I don't care how much experience you have. We're all an indie ball, and let's just hang out together. And we're doing this for fun now because obviously we're not doing it for the money.
I think it was a blast. I think it was like $18 a day for meal money, a day. So I mean that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner for an athlete. You guys eat more than a lettuce wrap.
That was when Subway had $5 foot long. We were crushing Subway. We were coming out on top.
Which we later found out weren't a full 12 inches, but it was 11 inches, whatever.
I don't think the clubby was getting many tips from us, though. So I mean, we didn't have any money to tip them.
But you met your wife in Winnipeg, so that worked out well for you. And you also stuck around there. And didn't you work for the team in the off season?
Yeah. So 2008, I met my wife at a team golf tournament. She wanted nothing to do with me, absolutely nothing to do with me. But I chased her for another month, and then the problem is, she was like, we was barely dating, but the season was gonna be over, and she was like, well, if you're gonna go home, I mean, this is pointless. I'm not gonna do this long distance thing. I barely know you. I'm like, well, I got nothing to do, so I guess I'm moving to Winnipeg.
So a winter in Winnipeg, that's quite a commitment.
Oh yeah, big time commitment. I had to fly home. I had a lowered Chevy Silverado and 22-inch rims, and I drove it all the way back to Winnipeg, Manitoba, and her family started laughing at me when I pulled up. And I'm like, what's wrong? They're like, that thing is not going to last up here. I'm like, why? They're like, you'll find out. And it was absolutely freezing. It was the coldest winter I've ever had in my life. Snowed almost every day. And then, so then to try to make some money, I had to sell season tickets for the team. Commission only, though, which made me mad. Because I couldn't even get an hourly wage. So I had to do commission only, call up random people, ask if they wanted to come watch me play. They had no idea who I was, obviously. And then I had to give pitching lessons in the parking lot tunnel. We had to get a space heater. These kids, bless their hearts, we'd warm up our hands, hurry, go throw about 10 pitches, warm up our hands, just keep doing it back and forth. We're just grinding.
It sounds, in much different cases, but it's almost like the appreciation and the love of the game that we all are kind of dealing with now. Maybe right. It is those little things of passing on the game to that next generation or looking back. I know Glenn and I have talked about this a lot. I'm trying to go back and watch Ken Burns baseball, get an appreciation of what it used to be like. We're all kind of focused on those little things right now.
Yeah, and then even if you see a highlight of a game and the stands are just full, you're like, we might never see that again.
Yeah.
We might never be able to pitch in front of a sellout crowd again, which I think we take for granted, even though that was the rush. We took that for granted. But that's the one thing that kept me around in the big leagues is I never took one day for granted because obviously the road I've taken, you just can't. I mean, I'm a 40th round draft pick. First pick of the 40th round.
All right. First overall in round 40.
First overall of the 40th round. But the first year of the 40th round, I was late 40th round. So at least I still went up a little bit.
You were a 2-time 40th round pick, not just once.
That's harder than being a first rounder, I say. You're going to be 2-time 40th round back-to-back. That's tough.
That's awesome. You're nothing if not consistent.
That's true.
What kind of pitcher were you at the end of your time in indie ball? How did you grow in that 2.5 or so years?
So when as I was coming up college, I was just straight four-seam guy, four-seam slider, occasional changeup. I mean, I thought I was a power pitcher, 93 to 96 at the time. That was hard, but obviously that's like average now, I guess. But then my shoulder, obviously after shoulder surgery, and I got the indie ball, I was getting my butt kicked. I was probably throwing 86 four seams with no slider. So then I started throwing my changeup a lot just to try to get something to work. So I started to get a feel for the changeup, and then each year as my shoulder started to get a little stronger, my velocity started to get stronger. But then I started throwing a two-seam a lot because I wasn't throwing hard enough my second year in indie ball. And I was getting a lot of good results throwing two seams to righties. I never threw it to lefties, so lefties were just crushing me. And then the third year indie ball, I started working on throwing that sinker glove side a little bit, trying to teach my arm, or I was just trying to train my body. I didn't know how to throw it. I was just trying to train my body how to create late action. So I always played catch with it, just tinker with it, see what would happen. But that third year, my shoulder got strong and my velocity started to come. And then when I got signed to go to Double-A, I still was like four-seam, two-seam guy, but mixed results. And then when they put me in the bullpen the next year, I was like, I'm going to go all two. I need quick outs. I just need quick outs. But the thing is, since I spent 3 years in indie ball trying to get my craft with this sinker, I was able to control. I could throw it wherever I wanted. And I think once you have velocity comes and late movement happens, I think you could toy with anybody you want. So I was able to throw to both sides of the plate and whenever I wanted, and I had a good slider. So indie ball taught me, my body was starting to get strong, I was able to just learn how to pitch. Because before I would just throw. I had to learn how to pitch. But once that velocity came, I just started flying.
You had a chance encounter with a Hall of Famer who helped you with that two-seamer also, didn't you?
Right. Yeah, so I was rehabbing my shoulder in 2006, and Greg Maddux was working out at the same place. I wouldn't say he was working out. He was like riding a bike, just doing whatever. But I was like, I'm going to ask him, because obviously everyone talked about his sinker. And I was just like, so what is it? Like finger pressure? Like, what do you do with your finger? I thought it was like something amazing that this guy did. Like it was a huge trick. And he's like, no, if I want to throw it to my glove side, I land a little farther over towards that way. If I want to go to the arm side, I just kind of direct my body that way. I'm like, that's it? he's like, yeah. And I was like, I can do that. So then I started trying to experimenting with it, and man, it just started to work. As soon as I got that glove side sinker down, and you could backdoor to righties or front hip lefties, I mean, it was game over.
Is that what was your takeaway from Greg Maddux, coming up a baseball fan, watching him pitch, and now he's over there riding a bike and grinding, and how did you kind of square that all, like kind of seeing this guy and then not in his element, but just on a bike?
Right. Well, I watched him for a while, for probably weeks, and I'm like, just wanted to see what this guy did. And obviously, I knew he was towards the end of his career. I'm like, he's not going to be some crazy weightlifter or anything. But, the guy showed up and he was doing his thing. But, and I was just like, so first I asked, I was like, so where do you like long toss? And he's like, oh, in my front yard with my kid. I'm like, okay, so long toss isn't serious. Don't have to worry about that. So we just became slow, casual. And then he signed with the Padres. And I was like, oh, I used to be with the Padres. And I was like, you'll love Peoria, the area of Peoria. And he's asking about the golf courses. So it was just like a slow relationship build. He gave me a few balls to play catch with because I had like a bunch of scuffed up balls. So that was nice of him. And then finally I was like, all right, I'm comfortable enough. I got to ask him how to pitch. So I was like, coming back from this injury, I just got to know, man. So just watching him, it wasn't intimidating. He wasn't like, because Tiger Woods would be there sometimes and he was kind of intimidating. Didn't really want to talk to him. But Greg just joked around with everybody. It was just like, you always hear stories what a jokester he was. So whatever, I'm just going to talk to him. I got nothing else to lose. I'm here with one arm. So, He was cool. He was really cool. He probably will never remember the conversation, but he was cool. He changed my life.
That's awesome. So now you get back into affiliated ball, I guess, as it were. You get up to the big leagues. 2013, at that time, career best 71 games, 2.69 ERA. What kind of clicked for you that year?
The mental preparation. I remember I gave a 3-run home run on July 4th. and I knew I just wasn't mentally prepared. I got caught off guard, and I let my team down. I mean, we fought back, took the lead, and I came in, gave a 3-run home run, and we lost the game, and I just felt devastated, only because I know I wasn't prepared. So I told myself after that day, I'll never be caught off guard. I'll never not be mentally I may not be physically ready to go in the game, but if I'm mentally ready, I think I got a chance. So I changed my mental preparation. I think I kind of matured after that outing, and I went on like a 23 scoreless streak or something. I just went on a great run, but I was just on a mission when I came in the game. I wasn't messing around. I mean, it's just a totally different mentality. It's pure attack mode. And they gave me the 8th inning role, which allowed me to have the adrenaline to be in attack mode. I mean, I think it's really hard when you're pitching in blowout games to have that mentality. You lose the adrenaline. But, they did give me in some bad situations, losing situations that I had to earn it back. So I used that as my adrenaline, and I just ran with it. Once it just clicked, my mental preparation. My stuff was always there, but I was very mentally immature, I would say. I was still, I only had 1 full year in the big leagues without being injured. So this was like, I wasn't really mature major leaguer yet, but this was part of my preparation. And John Axer was he was there, but Jim Henderson was there at the time. He was our closer. So I feel like I had some older guys to set back on, but I just watched the way they went about things. So I just knew I wasn't mature yet, but that day is when I decided I've had enough, and I'm not going to let my team down like that. I'm not going to let myself down, because if I do that again, I could be back in AAA. So
I want to follow up. You were just talking about having some older guys around who you needed to lean on a little bit. When you first got to the big leagues in 2010, Trevor Hoffman was in his final major league season as a Brewer. You mentioned K-Rod's name. In Minnesota, you had Eddie Guardado as your bullpen coach, longtime great relief pitcher. LaTroy Hawkins, a special assistant with the Twins, more than 1,000 games in the big leagues. What about the impact those people in particular and any others had on you in helping you to take that next step mentally, physically, knowing what you need to do on a daily basis to put together an 11-year career now?
See, this is why veterans are very important. So right, obviously, I first get there. Trevor, very humble man. We just did his routine. It was like Camp Hoffman every day. We were running 2 miles with our shirts off.
Throwing the football, right?
Yeah, football. You had to have your shirt off, though.
Yeah.
You had to have your shirt off. But he just taught routine. This guy preached routine, and he preached not, taking days for granted. I mean, this guy is going to be a Hall of Famer. He's talking about not taking days for granted. He's taking his time with rookies that, he cared about his teammates. I learned about routine right away. I had to find out a routine. It took me a while to get one. So there's Trevor Hoffman taught me that. K-Rod, just the mental preparation. This guy was an animal mentally. I mean, he wasn't the biggest. He did his own thing, but he wasn't a big workout guy. But this guy was just mentally tough, wasn't scared of anybody. So I took that from him. And Eddie Guardado I've known since I was 10 years old. And I was always kind of scared of Eddie, just because he was like a crazy, he's crazy. You watch him pitch, he come around to you to talk crap to you, he just always was crazy. But having him that's why I went to Minnesota, because I knew he was going to be the bullpen coach. And having him there helped me out a ton, just because he reminded me, because I was coming off an injury, and my confidence wasn't there, but then he reminded you of keep it simple. Don't go look at. He would yell at me if I looked at video. He yelled at me if I would look at analytics. Because he was just a different era. He was all about just not being scared and just attack. He made me believe in my stuff. He goes, you don't need a slider. You don't need any of that. He goes, you attack with that sinker. It doesn't matter. It's just to be in attack mode. No one can hit it. So, and then when I was closing, it was good to have him, because this guy made you feel like you were going to just go kill somebody by the time you left the bullpen, because he would be yelling at you, and it was awesome. I loved it. And then LaTroy, I played with LaTroy in 2011 before I got hurt, and we became good friends. We still text to this day, and he just same thing, keep it simple. But he was all about being a great teammate. He taught me how I needed to be a good teammate and a good leader. When you got to check someone, you need to check someone. Don't try to embarrass people. But so I took a little bit of everything from those guys, and I think it's helped me get this far. But I still text with those guys, always asking them questions. Eddie calls me all the time, because Eddie is he'll put you in your place real quick, and I need that a lot. even when you're not mentally right, he'll make you realize that stop thinking so much.
He calls you all the time because he's Everyday Eddie. That's probably why he does it.
Right.
He calls every day.
He's got nothing else to do.
How are you now? You know, Eddie told you not to get too crazy with the analytics and the video and stuff. Obviously, kind of globally in the game right now, everybody's locked into the video and the analytics. Where do you stand on that kind of stuff now in 2020?
Oh, man, I might be the wrong guy to ask. I'm just not. When I got traded to the Cubs, you know, they have this room full of analytics stuff. They got so much information, and it just overwhelmed me. It's too much for me. Like I didn't come up on that. I don't need that stuff, and I think that was good for me to see that even though they do have this available to you, there's a big wave of analytics. I guess I'll use some certain things. I want to see my arm slider, arm angle, or release height. I'll use that. I know now after being at the Cubs and fixing our mechanics last year, I know where I need to be. So if I can have that information, that's what I want to see. Other than that, I don't want to know what I can't do to a hitter. I don't want to know what the hitter can do to me. I don't care. I want to compete, and I want to see what happens. That's just the way I've gone about it. Too much information for me just mentally drowns me. That's what Eddie said when I first got to Chicago. He was watching me pitch. He's like, it looks like you're just underwater. Like your mind's just underwater. You're moving so slow. And he was right. I was thinking about so much stuff, about so many scouting reports, what I can and can't do. I could not pitch. It was unbelievable. I just couldn't do it. That's why I sucked when I went there.
Is part of that, Brandon, knowing who you are at this stage in your career, in an era where everybody is striking people out and walking people, and every at-bat seems to be 7-8 pitches. You use your sinker. You want to get it out on 1 or 2 pitches. You know who you are and what you need to do at this point in your career.
Yeah, see, I blame this on Max Scherzer. So,
we blame a lot of things on Scherzer.
Yeah. In 2017, I was an all-star. I knew who I was. Went to Washington. I was good when we went there in the playoffs, and then obviously I wasn't getting much respect in the free agency, which I expected. But once I got signed and we started spring training, Max was like, if you had a good slider, that would take you to a whole nother level if you started striking people out. So I'm like, you're right. I didn't get all the respect I wanted. So I started working with sliders every day with Max. And then the problem is I started working on so many sliders, I forgot about my sinker. And then I was still trying to strike people out. Then I led this. If you try to chase strikeouts, that leads to walks. And that's not who I am. So I took, a bad season, but it helped me realize, let's go back to what kept me here. Otherwise, I'm not going to be here very long. So that was a good thing for me. And then to have last year, okay, we went to let's simplify mechanics and go back to just attacking. Let's just attack with your sinker, but then your other pitches will come off of that. My slider I don't have a great slider, but I had like a 45% swing and miss rate on my slider because I threw so many fastballs and I was able to attack with it, which set up my changeup. So that really going back to the fastball command is which sets everything else up, which, I forgot to do in 2018.
Pitching can be so complicated, yet so simple. Speaking of...
we're stupid.
Hey, you said it, not me. Speaking of simplicity, let's go back to 2013, off the field, your wedding. Not exactly the most extravagant wedding that there has ever been. Is that right?
Right. That's where the indie ball days, don't forget where you came from type of stuff. We're in Vegas, and my wife, we ended up having a real wedding, but my wife's like, she was running out of time because if you're a Canadian, you only get 6 months out of the year to go back and forth. So she was like, I'm done going back. And I was like, well, we've already been dating for 5 years anyways. Why don't we just get married? She was like, we'll get married?
You're real romantic, aren't you? Yeah, proposal.
That's the way I am. She still makes me remember that day I never actually had a proposal.
What the heck?
So I was like, let's just elope. We'll go to the drive-through wedding. We go down the street, and then we'll have a real wedding next year. We just don't invite it. We'll invite a few friends. And she's like, all right, so $75 go through a drive-through wedding. I think it cost more to get the video from the lady. And then my best man was my dog. We put him in a tuxedo. And my agent was the best. It was also back there as the witness. So it cost me $95 to get married, and In-N-Out burger after that. That's a great day.
2 drive-thrus in one day. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's worked out well.
Yeah, we had a real wedding next year in Jamaica, but for a woman to be able to just say, yeah, let's go through a drive-thru, you got to hold on to that one.
Well, that was just payback for your Winnipeg winter. That's what that was.
Right.
So you guys are even now. So that's good. Back onto the field. You mentioned 2017. You were an All-Star. Happened to be at Marlins Park, which is pretty cool. I think I kind of see the All-Star jersey right over your left shoulder, right?
Let's see if I can get it. Is it that way?
Right there. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Next to where's the Jeter one?
Jeter's right above David Ortiz.
Poppy.
That was after I got Derek out. I appreciate that, Derek.
You got Jeter and Big Poppy side by side there. That's a first.
Yeah, I got a good collection in here. I got a lot of Hall of Famers. I always try to, if we play against a guy I think is going to be in the Hall of Fame, I try to get their autograph.
Is anything plugged in? Can you give us a tour?
Let's see. I can turn it around.
Yeah, this was a big hit. We had Tom Kohler on a few weeks ago. He gave us a tour of his memorabilia stash.
How do you turn this thing around?
I think if you tap the screen maybe and hit.
Well, you can even keep it the direction it's facing it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start off on the. Where is this? We got the Brady.
Nice.
Brady.
He used to play with the Patriots, didn't he, Tom Brady?
Yeah, that guy. And then I got my Hank Aaron. Let's see. Can you get that Hank Aaron picture?
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was that
Good
from?
times. That was in Milwaukee.
Okay.
He was at we had some team party at a bar and he was hanging out, so that was cool. And then my Muhammad Ali, let's see, signed speed bag. It says Muhammad Ali, aka Cassius Clay, so that's a good one to have.
Wow, that is awesome. And
then we met him 2011. He was in our clubhouse and I got to meet him.
That's excellent.
And then this is a drawing we had made last year in the Cubs bullpen. It says impossible is nothing, and then I had to play Steve Cishek in golf to win this. He was still mad about that.
Being a Marlins closer, Steve Cishek.
Yeah. And then we got, let's see, we got Pujols. This is right after he hit 600, but he didn't want to. Is it 600? Yeah, 600.
Yeah.
He didn't want to write that he was in the 600 club though, and then. Chipper, and then Favre. And then I thought Todd Helton would make the Hall of Fame, so I got his, but it sounds like he's going to have a tough time. And then some Nolan Ryan.
I don't know, Larry Walker opened the door for some of the Rockies. Who knows? Yes, we see it. We're good.
And then LaTroy, only because he's one of my favorite teammates. Mm-hmm. He signed this for me, and I said, can you write something special? It took 3 days for him to come back with throw strikes.
That's special.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
And, Miguel Cabrera, some Trout, and then Kershaw.
Wait, do you think Trout and Kershaw are going to the Hall of Fame? I don't know about that.
Yeah, maybe one day. Eddie Murray.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know Eddie Murray on this show. But
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, let's see.
Oh, wow.
Mariano. Ted Williams up there. Can you see that?
Yeah, he could hit.
Ted Williams. This guy, Derek, he made the Hall of Fame. And then he was nice enough to sign a rookie card for me after that, which was nice, too.
Oh, wow.
And then Poppy. And then, obviously, the best jerseys in here by All-Star. And then, let's see, I got DiMaggio and Willie Mays up there. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's quite the collection. I love this.
Yeah. And then Eddie Guardado at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can ever see that.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. Another one, let's see. All-Star. This was the team All-Star. The team signed our All-Star jerseys. And then that was my Major League debut. And then on Trevor Hoffman's 600, they had posters made. So he had one made for everyone in the team, and he signed. He actually talked to me, wrote to me like he actually knew me. That was like, he knew me for like a day. And then, dude, I got other good stuff.
You got hockey sticks on the wall, everything. My goodness.
My Hall of Fame balls, everyone on this is probably in the Hall of Fame. So that's a good collection, I think.
Now, were you always a memorabilia kind of collector, or did it just start once you had more access to these sorts of people?
Yeah, I think when I had access. Like, my first thing I ever bought was the Bo Jackson poster. I have that right there. Because I named my dog after Bo Jackson. And then I was at a charity event. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, that was where it first started. And then I was at a car show and I bought that Muhammad Ali speed bag. And next thing you know, I had a few good things. And I just had access to a lot of good players. So I just made sure I didn't want to ever, I want to take advantage of it. And I just got this cool poster or picture. If you can see the Muhammad Ali one right there, It says, "Confidence has no competition." So I love the guy's look on that picture. I don't know if you can see his look, but I love it.
Yeah, he did not lack confidence. That's what I recall about.
That's what I did a lot of reading last year, and I realized mental confidence. It don't matter how talented, you could just destroy people if you're mentally confident. So I try to start living by that stuff.
Where that whole tour started, and I appreciate that. That was an excellent look into the memorabilia collection. But where that all started was with that All-Star Game jersey. What do you remember about that whole experience and sharing that clubhouse with a bunch of All-Stars?
I remember I was wondering, what am I doing here? Because, I mean, the year before I was on a minor league deal, and all of a sudden I'm in the All-Star Game. But I remember the Astros were an amazing team at the time. They were in there, and then Robinson Cano was there. It was an amazing experience. There's so many big names, but everyone was so cool and humble. Kimbrel was I got to play with Kimbrel last year, but he was like, I looked up to that guy a lot just by watching him. He was an amazing closer, and all of a sudden he's just a very humble, chill guy, and we're standing next to each other in the home run derby, just hanging out. It was just like, what am I doing here? And then I remember when our names got introduced on the foul line. That's what I always dreamed of. And then when that happened, man, it was just so cool. It was and the stadium was sold out. And then they gave me my own inning, which was like a lot of respect from Terry. That was awesome. The fact that, I guess they, pitching against him in the division, they said, you're going to have the fifth inning. I'm like, I get to pitch? They're like, yeah, man, we got to fill innings. I'm like, awesome. So that was, a lot of times guys go and they don't get to pitch, and they just sit there. So it was really cool.
That's great.
When you consider where you started as a 40th round pick, for a lot of people, you get to that point and you say, okay, I've made it and this is the pinnacle. But it seems as though you're not content to have said, well, I went to an All-Star game. I saved some games. I've had a little bit of success. You're still pushing, even at 35 years old, and driving to keep getting better and better.
So this is why I think being a teammate of Max Scherzer is going to help me a lot. The guy's done so much, and then you wonder, like, okay, what are you going to do next? Well, I want to win again. I want to do more. So after he won the World Series, we hung out in spring training for a second. I was like, so are you going to, like, hang him up? Or, like, your contract's coming up soon. Like, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to keep going. He goes, I can still pitch. He goes, I want to do more. I want to win more. He goes, after you win one, you want to win a lot. So, unfortunately, I haven't won one yet. I would love to win one. And the All-Star game was cool. I would love to make another one, but it doesn't gain you anything. It's just it's a great experience, and I didn't gain any respect in free agency. So I've learned that being an All-Star, I was off the list. I don't need to be an All-Star again. I want to win. All I want to do is win now, because you're watching all these guys, all the greats. Derek talks about winning, and obviously these guys, that's what it's all about. And I just haven't experienced enough yet. I think I've had great opportunities and we didn't do it. And that's what's going to keep me going. That's what keeps me hungry. I want to win. I want to pitch a big inning on a big situation to win the World Series.
You did get some opportunities to pitch in big games, whether it was late September or a little bit in October. A couple of times you were a deadline acquisition for another team, whether it was Washington or Chicago. How did those two trades differ? Both being a hired gun, but just in terms of like, okay, well, my goodness, now I'm being thrust into a pennant chase, and then the next year, kind of the same thing, like you had been through that trade process before.
Yeah, so the one to Washington was shocking, just because I never thought about my name would be big. I always heard my name wasn't big enough for Washington. That's what I always kind of heard. And then next thing you know, I'm in Washington, and it's like there's star studs everywhere on this team. And the next thing you know, I'm supposed to be a guy. Like, what? This is kind of weird. And when I talked to Dusty's like, just do what you do. I don't care about strikeouts. Just do what you do. He goes, I love that 2-for-1 thing. I love double plays. Just do that. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then my first outing was actually against the Marlins, and I struck out Ichiro my first at bat. I'm like, these guys have way too high expectations. So, but that was a cool experience, and that was a really fun team. Just to be the fact that I got traded and I was an all-star and I was going to be a free agent and we went to the playoffs, like great experience. Let's do that again. I want to do that again. And then going into the next year, get traded to the Cubs. Obviously, it was a weird trade and a bunch of drama, but it was just weird to go to the Cubs. I didn't feel like I was needed. I just felt like I was just there. So I didn't feel as important in that trade. I didn't pitch very well either. So that was kind of a rocky trade. I think the one in Washington was a little more enjoyable. But the Cubs allowed me to, obviously the following year, I ended up having a great year. So it worked, and to have that experience to pitch for the Cubs, I mean, it's just amazing to pitch for the Chicago Cubs and you're in first place for most of the year. I mean, it's something that everyone should be able to experience.
You've pitched in the 8th inning and had a lot of success. You've pitched in the 9th inning and had success. A lot of players will tell you it's a completely different ballgame pitching the 9th than the 8th. And you see a lot of pitchers succeed as setup men, then struggle when they get the shot. Is it different for you pitching the 9th inning?
100%. It's 100. I don't care who you're facing. I don't care if the heart of the lineup's in the 7th or the 8th. That 9th inning, you close, the adrenaline's high. They close that door. No one's coming behind you unless you're giving it all up at home, and you got to get out of this inning at some point. You're giving up too many runs. But it's just every pitch you just cannot. You cannot take off. Mentally, you cannot take it off. And I think I learned that. I learned that because a lot of times I would get 2 outs, nobody on, and I'll be like, oh, I got this save. I can't. Well, I'll have number whatever it is. And next thing you know, it's 3-0, base hit. And next thing you know, it's first, second, 2 outs, and you're like, what the heck just happened? 2 outs, nobody on, and now it's like now everyone's thinking they're one swing away and you're going to lose the game. So I think a lot of times in the 8th inning, 7th inning, you get in that situation. The managers take you out and they bring in a lefty to get the lefty or whatever, and it is what it is. But that 9th inning, it's you. You can't take it off. The stress is on you, and if you mess up, you're the one that gets the L. So it's different. The crowd's into it more. The hitters are focused. They're taking their at-bats more serious. You just can't explain it. I think that's why some guys succeed and some guys don't.
Yeah, and maybe that's a conversation on a much grander scale, but I think that we were talking about analytics before. There's a lot in the analytics community that think kind of what you alluded to, that, the heart of the order might be up in the 7th, that's where the save is, and you could make that case, but there's the old school folks, I believe it. I never pitched in the big leagues, obviously, but I believe that the 9th inning is completely different. And it makes me crazy when people say, well, it's just 3 more outs. Okay, sure.
No, the adrenaline's not the same. I pitched in some high leverage 8th innings, and then my last weekend last year against the Cardinals, Joe let me be the closer, and the adrenaline was totally different. Totally different. I had pitched against St. Louis all year, but all of a sudden in the 9th inning, it was just different. The crowd was different. You just can't explain it. It's just different.
We're going to get in, I know, before we're done at some point here, to your BMX background and some of the things you did growing up. But is that daredevil mentality something that carries over for you when you got to walk that tightrope in the 9th inning?
Yeah, I think you can't be afraid to fail type of thing. Growing up, BMX was you're the only guy. Either you're going to push yourself or you're not. And if you're afraid to fail, you're probably going to get last. So, and if you're afraid to jump, you're probably going to crush the person or you're going to get hurt. So but Eddie, that's the thing. What Eddie always reminded me is you can't be afraid to fail. If you're afraid to fail, you're gonna fail. So he would always try to. Feeding your kids, putting food on your kids' table. So when he changed it to, you need to treat like this guy's taking food off your kid's table, and I'm like, totally mental switch. I'm going in. I'm not scared at all. That's what I mean. As soon as you're not afraid to fail in that inning, I think you'll have be able to succeed. But if you're, like I said, if you're afraid to lose or scared to answer the tough questions after you get lost, you're not going to be a closer very long, man. Obviously, BMX, I taught winning and losing a lot when I was a young kid did help that for sure.
I think that it's probably every spot you go, whether it was Minnesota, they kind of were the first ones to unearth it, I think. Washington, Chicago now with the Marlins. This old video, right? It's this old video that I'm actually playing on my end right now for those that haven't seen it. It was a young Colin Cowherd as a news reporter, and he's doing this kind of parody situation where you're jumping over a bunch of kids. 4 years old? You were 4 years old at the time?
At the time, yeah. I started racing bikes when I was 2.
Jeez.
I burned the training wheels on my bike, and my mom took them off. So we didn't want to do. They had big wheel racing at the time. We thought I was too cool for big wheel racing. So my dad and my mom took me to the track, and I think it's on that video too. You'll see there's a second race. So we just started I started racing a lot. I started jumping a lot of kids in the neighborhood. Finally, my dad's like, "Why don't we just call the news and we'll line up? We'll line everybody up." I guess I was okay with it.
Was your dad doing that too? Is that where it started? That's what it sounded like in the video. But was that a joke or was that for real? Your dad was doing this too?
He rode a little bit too. Yeah, he raced a little bit. I don't think he was as good as I was, but. Well, we lined up 16 kids, though, and when I was 4, so I don't know how many feet that is, but that's a good amount.
That's awesome.
Was it hard to get volunteers?
No, everyone in the neighborhood was really cool about it. They knew I was good at jumping, but my sister was the last one. This isn't chosen on video. My dad paid her $5, I guess. So.
That's fantastic.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We have one fan question from Twitter, and then we're going to get into what we'd like to call our hit and run segment. So first, the fan question from Twitter. It comes from the tremendous Marlins blog Fish Stripes. At age 35 to start the season, you've done a good job maintaining velocity over the course of your career. At a point when most pitchers' velocity is in decline, is there something in which you attribute being able to sustain your velocity deep into your career?
Right. So I think the training aspect, I switched to Eric Cressy 2000 after my knee surgery 2015. So the guys just got me moving and very explosive, trying to making sure I don't get old. so the guy has me, I feel strong. I'm always moving like being athletic. I attribute that a lot. When I came back from between 08 09 I started long tossing all the time, just long tossing. I read a lot about Nolan Ryan, what he did. He said he ran a lot of long sprints and he long tossed. So I still stay with my long toss routine. Make my arm, I guess I'm just staying very explosive, trying to feel like I'm young. And I think as long as you train your body to move fast and be explosive and you got the strength, I think, there's no reason why you can't maintain it. I mean, look at Scherzer and Verlander. Those guys are still doing it, and they're a little bit older than me. So there's no reason why I should be declining.
Despite what Greg Maddux says, you're doing the long toss. That's good. All right, time for the hit and run now. So, again, these are kind of quick hitting, fun questions, and then we let you run. A couple of kids, right? Your oldest is right around the age you were when you tried the jump that we were just talking about. Will you, or maybe more importantly, your wife, allow him to try similar stunts?
He's not even close. There's no chance. I wish, but... I mean, I guess he's a little devil in different ways, but no chance. I won't even allow him because he's not there.
Jumping around on the couch and stuff?
If he could, I would totally let him, but he's not
there. Again, you come to us from Las Vegas. Favorite hotel and or casino in Las Vegas?
Ooh, I would say Cosmopolitan. I think they got good energy there. Good energy hotel. When Marco Estrada, the former pitcher of the Blue Jays, we're good friends. Every time he comes in town, he stays there. So I've just come to love that place, I guess. I used to work at the Wynn, but the Wynn's a little too high class for me.
And you were like kind of like a chauffeur, right?
So like a runner / I would drive some people around when they needed to, like when let's say the Rolls Royces were too full and they needed someone to drive them in Escalade, I would do that. Or I would just pick up everyone's luggage. Or if you're a super rich billionaire, you needed certain yogurt, I'd go get that too.
Bonus hit and run question. Who was the most famous person you rode in your car?
Garth Brooks.
That's not so bad.
When he first started his show at the Wynn, I would be the one that picked him up from his plane. So I would drive him. And then funny thing is, a year later, I was in the big leagues, and I was donating to his charity, and I was at his charity event.
Oh, wow.
And I reminded him of that. He goes, "Oh, I totally remember you." I thought it was really cool. One day he's paying me to drive, and now I'm donating to his charity.
That's awesome. Speaking of Vegas, I've heard that the general rule is like 3 days in Vegas is plenty. Now, you live there, so it's different. So when you need like 3 days away with the boys, a long weekend, where do you zip off to?
Oh, geez. Definitely not Vegas. I mean, when someone comes to visit, when Marco comes to visit, I am done after a day. Like, I cannot take it anymore. I think I like Jamaica. I think Jamaica is a good place to go. I need a little more than 3 days, obviously, to get to Jamaica, but 3 days is good. I'll go Jamaica.
Okay. Since the baseball schedule never takes you back home, there's no big league team in Las Vegas. What's your favorite city to visit on the road?
Now that it was Chicago, but then I played there, so I guess it's not visiting. Chicago. I love playing in Boston. I guess, is it playing or just visit? We're going to city visit.
Whatever. Hey, who cares? Answer.
I'm going to say
Chicago.
100% Chicago.
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. You talked about some different off-season things that you were doing, whether it was chauffeuring or whatnot, but you also worked at a Cold Stone Creamery. So this is a very important question. It's a two-part question. Are you a like it, love it, or gotta have it guy?
Okay.
And
gotta have it.
You're a gotta have it guy, which is the biggest size. And what's your favorite flavor?
It was sweet cream with Oreos, strawberries, and graham crackers. I forgot what they called it back in the day. It might have been I don't know. I forgot all the names of it, but sweet. I like sweet cream for some reason. Actually, the butter cake was really good.
Okay.
But I didn't eat much of the ice cream when I worked there, though.
Really?
It's a good workout, though. Maybe that's one of the reasons you've maintained your velocity over the years. The elbow work with the scooping.
Elbow and shoulder. It actually did help a lot in my shoulder rehab. I did it when I started working there. It was after my shoulder surgery, so that they said fluffing the ice cream, you had to fluff it all the time to make it look good. So it was like you had to dig in and turn. So I was doing a lot of turning with my rotator cuff like for 3 years.
Wow. And dessert's big in your house, right? Your wife is a very active baker, right?
Yeah, she can do some she can design some cookies with the best of them for sure.
Nice.
And I always say, you have any that messed up so I can eat one? She goes, no, I didn't mess any. She doesn't let me eat them because she doesn't mess up. So I always got to like sneak away and throw one. And I was like, well, this one's broken.
Blame it on Bo.
Yeah, I'll blame it on Bo.
Yeah, or the kids. Throw the kids right under the bus. Who cares?
I know. But then my son would be like, no, like, he doesn't let me throw anything under the bus. And he'll tell on me for anything.
Oh, man. Listen, I think we're good. We're going to let you run. I know it's been about an hour, which has been great. We appreciate the time, man. Stay healthy, stay sane, all that kind of stuff. And hopefully we'll see you back in Jupiter soon.
Thanks for having me. It's good to talk about baseball again. So I kind of forgot what it was like.
Great stuff. Can't wait to see you on the mound in the ninth inning sometime soon, Brandon. Thank you.
I can't wait. Thanks, guys. See you guys.
Right. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you. Brandon Kintzler. That was awesome, Geff. Great to talk with him and chat again. Like he said, just chat about baseball again.
Yeah, it was fun. And, again, you look at the back of his baseball card and you see a lot of saves and a trip to the All-Star game and success with many different teams. But if you don't know the journey, the story doesn't mean as much. When you come in as a 40th round draft pick, he got released in A-ball by the Padres after only a couple of seasons. And now to have had the career that he's had, it really is a remarkable story. And the thing that I get excited about listening to him is not just what he's going to do on the field for this team, hopefully in 2020 before too long, but when he talks about the impact he wants to have on some of the other younger players in this clubhouse. And we heard about Trevor Hoffman and K-Rod and Eddie Guardado, some of the real influential people in his career. Now, he can be a person like that for some of these young emerging arms that the Marlins have, who are either in the big leagues already or are on their way over the course of this season and the next year or two. So he's going to be a great addition. Yeah, it's so important. Guys like I mentioned Curtis Granderson, but Brian Hollidays of the world, Neil Walkers of the world, Cameron Mabins that have come through exactly. Those veteran leaders and those veteran presences for such a young club, it's going to go a long way. Usually, and I'll take the ownership for this, usually we give the question of the day twice. I forgot to do it off the top. So let's get to the question of the day right now. Geff, what do you have? Well, it was closer themed because we had the closer Brandon Kintzler on here today. And so we asked people, based on what they did as a Marlin, you got a 1-run lead going to the ninth inning, what all-time Marlins closer would you like to see on the mound to close out the ball game? And, there have been a lot of great closers here over the years, none of them for more than a couple of seasons at a time, it seems like. We've had, I think, in all 14 30-plus save seasons by Marlins pitchers, but only 4 of them have had multiple 30-save seasons. Most recently, Steve Cishek and A.J. Ramos. You had the big year 47 saves, Armando Benitez in 2004. Antonio Alfonseca had 45 saves in 2000. But the guy who holds the club record is Rob Nen, going all the way back to the earliest years of the franchise. Brian Harvey was the closer in 93. Nen took over after that. He was the man in 97 when the Marlins won their first World Series. And Nen is the guy who's gotten the most support from fans so far when we asked that question. You got a 1-run lead, 9th inning. What all-time Marlins closer you want out there? In the opinion of many so far, Rob Nen's your guy.
Bar Nen.
Barnett, right?
Barnett, I don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe that's.
I'm sorry you're going with that.
Maybe that's where we should end it today. What do you think?
That's maybe perfect time.
That's a perfect
way to end it.
With some lame joke. All right, terrific. Again, our thanks to Brandon Kintzler. Thanks to the Marlins for helping us set that up as well. Yeah, I mean, we'll just try to stay out of trouble the next few days.
We'll play it by ear. We'll have some more content coming away over the course of the week. We'll let you know when our next show is going to hit the air. But, stay indoors, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll say it again. They're playing ball now in China. The Chinese Professional Baseball League has begun playing, and it looks like they're going to get going in Korea in May. You see the empty ballparks on TV, and it's not ideal, but it gives you a little bit of hope that maybe at some point we can do this here in 2020.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So if that means that single step is empty ballparks, but at least we get baseball. Again, not ideal, but it's what we all want, and I think it's important for baseball too. It's important for all sports, but baseball specifically to do it right. No question, do it safely, but get going again and be kind of at the forefront for getting our lives as back to normal as we possibly can, and whatnot. People again staying safe, so we can do that quickly.
Well, just look at the excitement last night with the first couple of episodes of The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan Bulls series on ESPN, the documentary. Look at the excitement with the NFL draft coming up starting Thursday night. People are desperate for something new. It's been fun watching the old games. At some point, you want to see something new. And hopefully, at some point before too long, it'll be baseball.
Right. And that's where this show was born from as well, wanting to see something new and some content. So that's what we've been trying to do. And again, we're going to come back with episode 10 at some point. We'll keep you updated on the details there. Geff, a pleasure as always. Thanks for watching. Again, follow us on Twitter if you aren't already, at Sev Geff Live, Sev Geff Live YouTube channel. We shoot out the links like crazy. So no excuses, folks. Get to it. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Geff, we'll talk to you soon, pal.
Let's do it again soon. Thanks.